Thanks for joining us as we take a closer look at the Charlie Kirk effect, otherwise known as
how Charlie Kirk's legacy ignites hope and defiance.
Yeah, I'd say so. My name is John Newton, science fiction author, and to help cover this, I'm joined by
Eric from Your Brother in Christ.
Before we get started, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments how we should go from here. What I mean is not so much this channel, but I'm just talking as Christians having this devastating event happen, how we should move forward. There's all sorts of questions. You know, there's a real tug of war on the best approach. Now for a disclaimer, this topic is a little unusual for this channel since we do reviews on movies, shows, and books from a Christian perspective. But my mission with this channel is to find ways to deliver the gospel through media, whereas Charlie's mission was to do it through dialogue and debate. So there is some crossover with that. It's delivering that message, getting the message across in different formats of doing it. So in that regard, you can say that, hey, I think we can stretch a little bit, especially with the severity of this last week's event, to cover this, do some coverage on this event and see where we're going forward. So who was Charlie Kirk? I don't like saying was, but who was Charlie Kirk? If you don't know, which I kind of doubt, but if you're watching this video and you haven't heard the news recently or known anything what's going on, Charlie Kirk was a prominent conservative activist, and he co-founded Turning Point USA in 2012 at the ripe age of 18. Now, if that doesn't do anything else to inspire you or to kick you in the butt to say, I got to get my act together because this guy bore fruit. And, you know, in every way, I think we're challenged to do that. You know, not to have any kind of condemnation on any one of us, but to say, I think it's supposed to be a point of encouragement to say, this is possible. There are some things we can do. We can overcome. There's a lot of issues that are available to us and a lot of different avenues that we could use. So at the age of 18, he founded Turning Point USA to empower young conservatives on high school and college campuses. The organization's mission was to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote principles of fiscal responsibility, free markets, limited government, and individual freedom, while fostering patriotism, faith, and traditional American values through activism, debates, and media outreach, like his podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show. All in one breath. That's quite a bit. So I'm sure that most of you know he was assassinated 5 days ago during an event at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah. He was 31 years old and was shot by a sniper from a rooftop while speaking to about 3,000 people. But he was not a racist. He was not unsympathetic. He was not anti-legal immigration. Charlie Kirk sought to share the truth through open dialogue and debate. As he often said in his debates, he said, if we don't have open dialogue, if we don't have debate, it could lead to violence, as we've seen. In his absence, we ask, will this moment of grief forge a new movement of faith, courage, and action, or turn into inaction, or turn into overreaction?
Well, I think it's trending one way.
What's that?
It's trending in the right way.
Okay, so how so?
Reaction. So far, we've seen people take up the banner, people take up the cause, going to church. There's been a massive movement. I mean, you had the Tommy Robinson's event, which I have no doubt was impacted by this, but they had somewhere in the realm of 3 million people show up for this.
Definitely more.
That was crazy.
It was definitely more than what the media said. They said it was 110.
110, but then the stupid camera guy kept pulling up and showing more
moving,
people.
Bob.
It was hilarious.
We keep seeing more.
It's like, no, that is so much more than what you're claiming.
Yeah. I would be interested to know, for those in the live chat here, how this event first affected you, because we're going to be going over here in a little bit, talking about trying to capture the mood of the event and everything to say, because from that then comes the action. We're often propelled by emotion, because and then motion with it, that it gets us going. Sometimes we need to be knocked out of our complacency, and in some ways, I think maybe this event, as tragic as it was, might I don't say wake up. I don't necessarily want to use that word, but stir us to action. And I have definitely seen that.
Yes, that has been happening. It has been very good. We'll see if it continues, but if the trajectory continues, this could be very beneficial.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yes. So we apparently do have a noise issue. If you wouldn't mind adjusting the environment for me to rid us of the foul beast. That I think our microphone is too good here. It's picking up background.
In other words, shut the window. Because someone forgot to shut the window before we started the live stream.
It was warm. Clip that from the live stream after I go my editing. Make sure that's done. If I remember. That's all right.
If you're watching this in the replay and get to this point and it's not clipped,
it's
don't mention it in the comments, please.
Yeah, no. I don't care. It goes either way. So, in the aftermath of Charlie's assassination, there's been an outpouring of grief and love, as well as a mood of oneness and defiance that has surged in his death, after the aftermath of his death. It's like waking of a sleeping giant that once moved to action could do great things, or could bumble around and do some harm. So there is a point where this could go sideways, because you have this great emotion and momentum, and things can go bad. Like we said earlier, it could be either inaction or overreaction and some things. And I don't know if we really have that well defined what the action should be. That's part of it.
More open dialogue. It should become commonplace that open dialogue should take place.
Yeah, I think definitely his mission should continue even more so.
And definitely not doing what the politicians are doing, which is instantly going to gun control.
Oh.
Which is like, oh yeah, you're part of what you talked about, and part of your life's work was protecting gun rights. We'll use your death to try to destroy what you worked on.
You know, they wouldn't have a job if it weren't for people owning weapons, because the Revolutionary War would not have happened.
Not at all.
And so we would be speaking the King's English with a slightly different accent at this point, probably, if that were the case. So I was curious to see what your thoughts were, and also in the chat, from trying to capture this mood and see where we're going, because then there's some things that we're going to be looking at here in a minute to see where it gets placed with that. But how would you establish the mood then after the event took place? What were your initial feelings and then the feelings afterwards?
Shock.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard about it from a random person. We're out. Elle and I were out, and a random person came up and said, "Oh, do you guys know Charlie Kirk?" And I'm like, yeah.
Wow.
It was weird because of knowing what David and AP were working on with Turning Point USA. And then that whole thing snowballed after that.
Right.
It was very interesting it was hard to keep focused. It's the same level. I'd say put it on the same level as 9/11. Like, truthfully, because for a different reason. And why I'm saying that is not so much the death, because it's one person versus many people, but it's the attack on the democracy side. That in 9/11, it was an attack against our nation,
right?
Against our nation's foundation. And in this way, his assassination is the same attack. Because it is the attack on free speech, free dialogue. I mean, that's all Charlie was doing, was just come here, have an open dialogue. I've helped organize events like that in parks and other outreach events. That's just like, hey, we're here. We have this concept. Come have an open discussion with us.
Right.
And to say, okay, well, you disagree with me, so therefore I have the right to kill you. That would be a very dark world.
It would be. Yeah, and that's what the assassin's bullet was, is to try to silence him. as a left-leaning friend of mine said, it shut him up. I thought that was a very callous way of putting it. I think maybe he was speaking more for the side of gun rights or whatever, but it's actually doing the opposite. I think what it is they have had so many people join Turning Point USA in the tens of thousands. It might even be over 100,000 by the time this is all done. I don't know. That is an incredible force that is just swelling up, and we're talking young people here. So this is the next generation, right?
Mm-hmm.
While a certain side would want to either kill their children in their wombs or to sterilize their children after the fact through altering their hormones, just by growth itself, just by having babies, just biological growth. I don't know if we're really going to have much of that end of the political spectrum around, which I really like to have an honest debate going back and forth, because if you don't have an enemy to debate with, not really an enemy, but an opposing force to debate with, you're not necessarily, you got blind spots. You're not really necessarily going to be open to making any adjustments. So
no, so the assassination was on many levels, hit Americans on many levels.
I think so.
First and primary is, of course, he's Christian who was preaching Christian ideals and pushing that wherever he went. He was not being pushy with it, but presenting it. It was forefront. This is why he was doing it. This is what his main cause was.
He would listen to the other side when they came up to the mics.
Oh yeah, and fantastic. He's patient with them, and then push back. Now he would push back harsh when he needed to, but he was nice.
Yeah,
he's nice. So that, I think for Americans, it hit them on two fronts. First of all, we don't like getting told what we can't say. And this is specifically an attack against freedom of speech, which is very fundamental. On top of that, of course, being a Christian, America's founded on Christian principles. That is also under attack as well. So yes, you're going to see a wellspring of people coming and volunteering. We just need this momentum to keep going and not stagnate.
Yeah, and I would also say another way that it hit us. I see some comments here I'm going to get to in just a second. Another way that it hit us too was this was a guy like us. It's not like, when you have a presidential or attempted presidential assassination, you think, whoa, that's happened. This, I think, hit more home because he's one of us.
He's a civilian.
He's a civilian. He is, although he speaks, on a political not really a political platform in the technical sense, but he's speaking some politics. He's speaking his mind. He's speaking morality and other things. So this is really, it hit home for a lot of us to say that the violence has reached this level, and I'm praying that it doesn't go any further.
Absolutely.
So looking at some of the comments, Jack Ray did mention a little correction here for me. We speak something closer to the King's English of 1700s. The Brits moved on. Yes, that's what I understand, that we're more speaking like what the colonists and the Brits did at the time of the Revolutionary War, and they have the stiff upper lip since then and moved on and have a heavier accent there in Great Britain. I would rather pronounce my R's than speak modern King's English. Okay, that works. They want all that oppose them to be in fear too.
Yeah, it's too. In fact, I've seen this already because, according to what I've heard, Turning Point USA is still on the move. They're still doing college campuses. They're still getting people out there speaking. So, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we need to do. We need to keep going. Violence has no place in our society when it comes to using it to silence individuals. Yeah. There's no place for that. And if it is used to silence political speech of one person, then 50 need to take its place. And then if one more falls, another 50.
I think there is some limits to that, and that is talk of inciting violence and insurrection. if you're overthrowing, talking about overthrowing the government, there's questions about that. But
I wouldn't say this was peaceful necessarily.
No,
peaceful speech.
No. And the problem is, some on a particular end of the political spectrum have redefined what violence is and what hateful speech is in such a way that we get to be over restricted, and any opinion you have then can be considered violence for somebody else, and it goes from there. Just look at what's happening in the UK.
Oh yeah,
that is awful. So we have some videos here. I wanted to take a quick look at individuals who have been affected by Charlie Kirk. So these are the positive things. We're looking at some of the positive effects that have come out of this, and not looking so much at the negative side just yet, because we're going to compare the positive to the negative. The first guy is...
I have been to church like twice my entire life. And since Charlie Kirk is unable to go to church this Sunday, I'm going to go and take his seat for him. And we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So how widespread is this? How many people have been affected by this guy? Let's take another. I wonder, from your perspective here, have you seen maybe an increase in church attendance? That happened after 9/11, I believe. And
no parking. Charlie Kirk, look what you did. No parking. No parking at all. None. Had to park like 5 blocks away from church.
Good problem with that.
Because everyone wants to come now. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Charlie.
That's a good problem to have.
You know, I don't come from any kind of money, and I've never owned a suit before. My wife, she bought me this suit. Our anniversary's coming up, and we have a nice anniversary plan. You know, we make a little bit of money now, and I'm proud to say that, because that's certainly not where either one of us comes from.
Yeah,
and
it's good.
I feel good in this suit, man. And I just want my wife to know she made me feel good. It's a $300 suit. I ain't never had nothing like this before in my life. And I tell you what, okay, video flip here, so I'm going to lose some of you. I didn't know Charlie Kirk, never met that guy before in my life. And something else that I've never done before in my life is believe in God. I'm going to wear this suit to church. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to try to be a better father, husband, and leader for my family. They deserve that. My phone fell down. I guess that's the devil trying to mess me up right now. I'm gonna try, y'all. Look at this suit. I look good, bro. My wife made me feel this way. Charlie's made me feel this way. Yeah. Message over.
That's my favorite one.
That's your favorite.
That's my favorite.
I could see why. I could see why that's your.
Because he's saying that he's not Christian. He's going to church. You know, it's something he's never done before. Believe in God.
Yeah.
And he's going to do this. And his first reaction, of course, to the phone falling out is to slip back into his normal routine, which, of course, cussing. And to be like, no, I'm trying. I'm correcting that. And to immediately step in and, oh no.
Yeah.
This is what I should actually say. I shouldn't use that foul language. That's showing me that he's authentic as far as what he's actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not just saying, well, I'm trying to be a better person now. He also just demonstrated it.
Right. More power. So, pray for that guy, man. More power to him. That is awesome.
Yep.
That is awesome. When I saw that clip the first time and he slipped, I thought, whoa. But you know what? It's showing the, like you said, showing the authenticity. And
we're all sinners. We've all fallen short. We've all had a starting place to start from.
Right.
And this is his starting place. And it's honest.
Yep. Just seeing I wonder with some of these guys, and I'm not sure how many this would apply to, just like the influence that Jordan Peterson has for especially men, also for women, but especially for men, to say we need an example of what a good man is. And then Charlie Kirk steps up and said, here's a Christian man. Here's a man that's bold and courageous and cares about people and does what he needs to do. And so that triggers a lot of guys really grab onto that.
Yes.
We need to have those examples. So I think it's a challenge for all us guys, even those older veterans, to say, there are young men out there that are watching us. Let's be bold and courageous out there as well.
And now there's also another aspect of that is not showing that Charlie also walked the walk. He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. He put his life on the line. Literally. He put his life on the line. So to look at that and say, man, he believed what he believed so dearly that he was willing to give his own life for this. And it's not just, oh, I'm getting death threats. Anyone could say that, but it's like, no, he was actually dealing with that. And they want to stop him. They want so badly to stop what he was doing that they're willing to kill him over it.
Yep.
That by itself for men is like, oh, well, that's the type of man I want to be.
Yes, we had that level, lay down his life for his friend. And so let's take a look at it from one of the female standpoint. Oops. And to actually show it.
We went to church today. It was the first time in 20 years for me and Devin. It was the first time for our children. After the events of the last week, Devin and I had a lot of talking that was happening between us about the type of life that we want for ourselves and how we want our boys to be. We talk about Charlie Kirk. We talk about a man of God who was not afraid to stand in his convictions in anything. And we are raising 3 boys that will one day be men. And we want those boys to be as strong in their convictions as Charlie Kirk was. And we realized we had been doing a great disservice by not taking them to church and introducing them to faith up until this point. It is because of Charlie Kirk that we went to church today. We got online and we found one that we thought would be a good first try. Some of them are hit or miss, so we didn't know if we would like this one or not. We went in and everybody was so warm and welcoming, which was great. Before the service, they led a prayer for Charlie Kirk and for our nation. That one got me. The message today in the service was centered around forgiveness. And I know that a lot of us are trying to find our way there. And so it was a very powerful message to hear today. And here's to new beginnings. I hope that those of you who went to church for the first time today, I hope that those of you who are buying Bibles for the first time, I hope that those of you who, like us, are returning to church, I hope this journey doesn't stop for you. And we are making it a mission for us and our family to continue living a life that was worthy of Charlie Kirk's presence.
I mean, that is a great legacy to leave with. I mean, seriously, that's what it comes down to,
Oh my
right?
gosh. You imagine when you die, when you die, that you have that kind of impact on the world?
I mean, you mean
Wow.
even one other soul entering into the kingdom of heaven because of my death would be incredibly amazing.
It would be worth it.
But to have this be the catalyst, his assassination being the catalyst of so many turning towards Christ, so many taking up the banner, taking listening to what he said and taking it seriously. That's amazing. I mean, that's what's happened with all the martyrs in the past. This is the blood of the martyrs at work. This is how it happens. Christianity does not go quietly into the dark. We continue to grow in spite of persecution, in spite of bloodshed of us. We continue to grow and continue to
sometimes grow even more during persecution, especially. So Thomas Hall had a comment here. He said, "Hope is one of our greatest weapons. Despair, one of the greatest weapons, the greatest of Satan. It is no surprise that people are looking for hope when they see despair in their lives." And yeah, I think maybe it's because a lot of that people are drawing to Christ because they do see the strength there in this time. Kirk is Scottish for church, fitting for his last name. That is interesting. Now I have to go back to all those
That's interesting.
Scottish towns that have the names Kirk in it, so they're probably named after a church. So does that mean James T. Kirk?
Yeah,
who's a Scottish name. So memorial services have been held and currently are being held across the United States and the world, including Berlin, London, South Korea, and more, with thousands upon thousands gathering to honor Kirk's faith, family, and free speech advocacy. I attended a memorial last night, and the town square filled to capacity. It was more than I think I'd ever seen this particular square filled. These are some of the pictures from that. There was also during the day too, where you could see more people during this time, and it was packed. It was packed, and they had a candlelight visual. And yes, I was there. I was in the back.
There's John.
It was me. So there's another image of it all through. I had never seen this square like this, and this is in a kind of a left-leaning neighborhood.
Wow.
I was not expecting that. In fact, I expected some hecklers. I expected some other people going by. None of that. It was all this. So that was a positive thing. Were you surprised? Have you been surprised with the outpouring that afterwards for this?
On both sides, there's been a lot of hatred. I was actually surprised there's so much hate. For him. That was astounding. Again, those are select few that are doing it that are very vocal. By select few, I mean there are a few hundred. There's not like a small number. So there's a large number of people who did absolutely hate him. I mean, a few thousand or so. I don't know the actual numbers. But there's also a large amount of people who loved him. There's a large amount of people now who are looking him up and finding out who he was that did not know him beforehand. And finding out, wow, I kind of actually agree with this guy. Yeah, this guy's actually making a lot of sense.
That's the advantage of the social media, advantage and disadvantage. You have sound bites that were taken out of context, whether it was something concerning to make him look racist, or one particular one that I've seen a lot is people saying he had no empathy. There's a quote from him saying, "I hate empathy," and if they had continued with that quote, they would have understood that what he's saying is empathy was basically an overused term by a certain political party to say that we've got this, you don't. And he's saying empathy is feeling what someone else feels because you've gone through that same thing. His argument was none of us have all gone through the exact same thing as anybody else. We can have sympathy, and sympathy is good, and sympathy is what we need to have. But we overuse this one phrase that makes it impossible for us to actually fulfill this because we can't necessarily fill that for someone else. So they took that out of context. And he also had some things saying about the Second Amendment, how it's necessary, even if some die. And then they ran with that.
They ran with that one.
To say that he doesn't care about children dying in school. He doesn't care about all these deaths. And therefore, the big one was, he deserves, they would say that he deserved what came to him because of that statement, which is
totally garbage,
totally idiotic. He's not espousing that. So there was a phrase was once attributed to C.S. Lewis, but I found that it wasn't something that C.S. Lewis had said. But I think you can pretty much see this in the New Testament describing the end of the age. The closer you come to the end of an age, the more obvious who is serving God and who isn't. And I think we see that more and more. So we've seen the powerful response to his death from the Christian side, both in terms of visuals and then visuals and people's responses to him, either say, I'm going to get my life right, I'm going to straighten out, I'm going to start going to church, I'm going to follow Christ, all these different kinds of things. The question is, what is the left doing? If you compare these memorials to the response of, say, after what happened with the George Floyd riots and other unrest, there's a huge contrast between the two. I'll tell you, at that memorial last night, there were no fires other than the little candles we held in our hands. There were no cars turned over or police shooting tear gas because of unrest. It was basically a worship service and some other things. My only concern was they did not have loud enough speakers. Could not hear what was going on.
They had too many people?
It was, maybe. They just didn't have, there was no,
They
it was
weren't
way up.
expecting
They must not have been expecting that crowd.
Must not have been expecting the
I
crowd.
could barely hear anything back there, and everybody else was around us the
That's
same.
not a bad.
No.
It's inconvenient, but it's also kind of awesome
Yeah.
because you didn't expect that number.
Thomas Hall said a lot of videos taking him out of context. I wonder how much is purposeful. I think as we all tend to hear what we want to hear, doesn't matter what political end of the spectrum that you're on. I think
And
we
it
all
only
want
takes
that.
one person to take it out of context and then start sharing it, and then other people not doing the research, just taking it and sharing, thinking that it's not out of context.
Yeah, we need to be careful in
it
doing
might
that
not
too.
be dishonest even then when they've shared it,
Yeah, maybe not.
but they're still responsible.
They are responsible. It's like what happened. There was a guy that was standing behind Charlie Kirk in one of the video feeds before he got shot. And this guy was touching his cap and he was doing some things with his hands. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, look, he's giving hand signals to the sniper. He must be in on it. This is a conspiracy." You know who that was?
Who?
Frank Turek.
Frank Turk was in the conspiracy? Wait, Frank Turk?
Frank Turek
Seriously?
wrote this book, was a mentor to Charlie Kirk, was there to help him. He was doing all sorts of other things. He is in charge of cross-examined and so many other things.
We've met him personally.
I did meet him. It was at the Apologetics Con in Florida last year. The guy is great. If you ever get a chance, he does the same kind of debates in some cases that Charlie has. And so, no, Frank Turek was not signaling a sniper.
No.
We got it. So as we have to be careful not to jump to conclusions, doing the research and see where we all have. Now, I have a quote from Thomas Hall. Yes, Thomas, I'm going to do your quote. This was a something he what was it?
Comment he left on one of my short videos that I've done. I've done quite a few of them on Charlie. This one, I believe, was from a live stream with David Wood, where we were going through some of the reactions, some of the celebrations of Charlie's death. In this case, we were talking of. I was just letting him know what my perspective was, which my perspective was and still is that everyone comes to know Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior and enters into heaven with me at the end of this age. Now, that being said, there's still consequences for your actions, but I want them to come to salvation.
Right.
That was the end all of that message. Of that short, and that's where he put this.
So this is his comment. I didn't have enough time to make it an image so I can put it on the screen. But he said, bear with me, this is a little bit long. What WWDWD? What would David Wood do? Now, I told Eric when I heard this, I said, you know what? We need to get a T-shirt and send to David Wood, a T-shirt and a wristband. And it should say, as a reminder to him, whenever he looks down on it, what would Mike Winger do? And it needs to say it on the T-shirt too. All right. And on the back, it's wingnut, everything like that. So it fits, it makes sure it works. So he'll love it. He'll love it. He'll wear it, and I'll put some,
He'll probably burn it.
He'll
burn it and dance around it.
No, he won't. Okay. So what would David Wood do? I say this in jest, but think there is something valuable to be seen in this moment from Apologetics channels like DW and Eric and his wife and many others. I am disheartened at the Christian apologist channels that said, if you cheered, unsubscribe. Perhaps they only want other Christians or civil, polite unbelievers to wish them no harm. That's fine. I'm dismayed that some of the comments here that I think that you're suggesting an easy forgiveness, that you're entertaining evil. Channels like these are going to the hard places most of us lack the courage to do. Just as Charlie Kirk did. They are not naive about who they are facing. They know some want much worse than a simple disagreement. They know that it's not so easy as saying, I forgive you. Let's move on like nothing happened. They're risking their lives and livelihoods to speak the truth to those that hate us and hate Christ, because a few will still change their minds, sometimes over the years. And those few will change, and a few will raise their children not believing what they used to believe. And a few will come to Christ because if you will come to Christ and become a great witness. God bless those that are not only leave their channels open to those that hate them, but invite them in, not to coddle them, but to speak truth in love. Well, so having the courage to face disagreements, having the courage to keep that door open even to the most vile. And I think of Jesus eating with tax collectors and sinners, not to say that they're okay in their sin, but to be able to pull them out of their sin.
Yep.
Right?
Say that you'll still have conversation. We'll still talk. We're still here. What you're doing is wrong. And Jesus said that quite often. Go and sin no more. Go and sin no more. But he still did not immediately reject them when they came up and they were still in their sin.
Okay. You recognize this one here? I don't know if I want to
Nope.
put it this way.
Don't clue what that is about.
Okay.
It might be Mike Winger reference.
I don't know. We don't want to have division in the church, so no anti-Winger or anti-Wood comments here, please. So I did a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, and I wanted to share this with you. This is some stats to go over. What I was looking at was political unrest in the United States over the last 60 years. I wanted to see whether if it's really true, there's kind of a truism in media saying the most dangerous thing in the United States is right-wing extremism.
Well, that or Christian nationalism.
Christian nationalism on the same board here. It says we got to guard against that. We can't be Islamophobic. We can't do all these other things because the true danger is this group over here.
That's what they say.
So I gather these stats together, and I'm trying to look at these as unbiasedly as possible. And so I looked at political unrest in the United States for the last 60 years, broken down into 3 different groups. Now, these were unrest that had any kind of property damage or physical damage, injury or death. Total number of events. I have these all listed and enumerated. If anybody is interested, I can send you a copy of all the data that's behind this. But total events, they're left align 11, right align 2, cross spectrum or anti-government 2. And that means that these are ones that are not necessarily left or right. They're just kind of neutral, but there was a disagreement with the government, some uprising or something that had happened. Like I think Ruby Ridge is in there, some other things like that. Not necessarily left or right, just that kind of thing. So I pulled those out. And by the way, when we look at these stats, we say right wing, left wing. What happens a lot is Christians are put together with KKK, which are put together with ultra nationalists, which are put together with all these different groups, and say they all think the same. And the answer is no, we don't. And then be very selective on those that you would say they're the left wing. And so that very small group then does not get put into the stats. It looks like they hardly do any damage, where everything else that's grouped together on something that's called right wing does that. So these stats tend to go away from that. So total number of days. Now these are days that there's been violence. So if you have a long event like the George Floyd riots, those are individual days that are stacked up, as opposed to like January 6th would be one day. George Floyd riots would be several days long and broken down by city. So if there's events here that happen in Los Angeles and one that happened in Minnesota, those are considered two different events with the number of days calculated for both, not overlapping as one, to say, oh, there's just one time that happened. No, it was for an extended period of time, months and months we're talking about. So if you look at those, total number of days, left aligned 58, right aligned 3, and cross spectrum 49, which kind of blown out of proportion because this was a standoff where you had individuals that were locked in. So it was big time. But if you look at the ratio between left aligned and right aligned, there's a 19-to-1 difference between the total number of days. Amount of damage in dollars. This is adjusted for 2015 inflation for 2015 dollars. In left aligned, you have $4,190 million of damage.
So 4 billion.
4 billion. 4 point. Yes.
Or 0.2. It actually would be.
What's that?
So it'd be 4.2.
4.2 billion for left line, and then 36 for 36 million. So I want to put these on the same figure. So they're both million side by side. That is a ratio of 115 to 1. Deaths, 182 versus 2. Right
wow.
line. Now this assumes, I got to put a caveat in here. If you've heard people say January 6th, there were 5 or 6 deaths that were in that. You had Ashley Babbitt, that was one that she was shot. And then they count law enforcement, 4 deaths, I believe, law enforcement. One was a heart attack after the fact. And then there were 3 others that were suicides.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how you can count that. Maybe they feel bad. Maybe
we're not.
Those are tragic. I'm not discounting deaths that they've had, but can you really count those as part of the event?
Not really.
Even if you do, which I don't think you should, we're talking about a ratio of like 91 to 1. I've only counted 2 here. Charlottesville, there was 1 death, and January 6th, 1 death. But that's a huge difference. Injuries, over 6,000 for left-aligned events, and maybe 150, depending on how you add up the stats for right-aligned, and none then for non-aligned. So these numbers vary. It's a little hard to nail these down because what do you consider events that do this? You can get a little granular and keep on breaking down further and further to say, well, there's some property damage here. It's low cost, and we add that to events. So it really depends on how you all add that up. Bottom line, though, the ratio between the 2 different groups, it's not astronomical, but it's very, very disproportionate.
I don't know. The astronomical is in the cost. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
between the 2.
Yeah. So more than 100 times, definitely, without question. So I usually in this channel, I've really tried to steer away from being political, but this is a crossover event with Charlie, and trying to keep all this in context to say, there's accusations that are made. We've got to be very careful as Christians how we go from here. Do we take a point fighting back physically? I would say no. Defend ourselves, definitely. Keep your guard up, definitely. What that looks like, I'm not sure. But not inciting violence, not calling for it, nothing like that. We do see what that's happening on the left. Some of the vitriol that people are
It's
posting.
bad. It's bad.
I chose not to share any of those. I did share the positive videos, the people that are coming to Christ and things like that earlier with the death of Charlie. I am not showing any of the videos or comments that are coming from the left. I don't want to give them any airtime at all. It doesn't take much for you to go out there and look and find it. So the contrast between the heartfelt memorial services on the right with the shocking celebrations of death on the left, plus what we see with historical conflicts internal for the last 60 years. It's good for us to keep our guard up and continue to engage in conversation, debate, hearing what other people have to say. Take courage, stand on your principles, and give hope, especially for a younger generation, that there is a better way to live than what the enemy has to offer. Do you have any comments on that?
Nope. That seems to wrap it up nicely.
Okay, so I'm going to look, and there's no other comments there in the chat. On this channel, we're always looking for innovative ways to deliver the hope of life through media, just as Charlie did through bold dialogue and debate. Again, smash that like button and subscribe, and tell us in the comments how we should go on from here. Until then, stay sharp, and don't only take care, but take courage.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.